Well, before we head out to Seward, I figure I might as well take a few pictures. Granted, can't get too far because then we've got a partition here and a partition there. But it's as if every single day we find ourselves in a town with that much more picturesque scenery. These mountains are huge and just tower over what city there is. And it's really quite impressive. Then again, Homer had its fair share of mountains too. It's just that the cloud cover didn't do it justice. So maybe I'm giving Seward more credit than it deserves and Homer less. I don't know. It's a good thing that we have a vantage point of a couple of stories up on the ship, because when you look at this area from the dock itself, you don't even see a city. I mean, to be fair, it isn't much of a town to begin with, half the size of either Kodiak or Homer, and you do see the masts in the marina, but it does disappear almost entirely from this angle, especially compared to the mountains. One of the guys was pointing out that there was a sea otter swimming here just a moment ago, and with my luck it looks like I've kind of just missed it. Since our past experiences said that we could basically go on tour at our own pace on whatever bus is available, we decided to show up about a half hour early. This time it doesn't seem to be paying off for us, but either way, at worst we'll go at the time allotted to us to the SeaLife Center, which for a moment it didn't look like we'd make it, but we are here and in our usual last spot in the bus. The funny part is, we seem to be by the WC, although no one's getting in there this time around. So here we are at the SeaLife Center, and I sort of thought that we had ourselves a guide, but I think this is a self-guided tour. Basically an oceanography museum, but we'll take a look inside and see what there is to bring home in terms of footage. There's a little artwork here as well as various... Oh yeah, this is still artwork, I dare say. I will say that the place seems rather empty if it weren't for us and our fellow passengers invading. Interestingly, for all that this place celebrates wildlife, they do not make any apologies for turning it into food. You don't think of flounders as being sort of like with their head on one side or another, but here it is. And it doesn't swim on its side, it swims flat like that. Unlike some of the footage that we saw at the Pratt Museum in Homer, these are actual live fish and sea urchins and other creatures.
The North Pacific Rim. Stellar sea lions are the largest species of sea lion. Males can actually get up to 2,400 pounds during their breeding season, during the time when they're actually putting on the most weight but eating the least amount of food. If you look over here on the right, we have Maddie, one of our trainers, feeding Pilot. He is one of our males. He's actually the largest male that we have here at the facility. He currently right now is topping out at around 1,900 pounds, almost 2,000. You'll see some of these behaviors that our trainers are working on with Pilot and Mara. They're all husbandry behaviors. So these behaviors are actually trained to the animals for a bunch of different reasons. They're there for research, veterinary, and husbandry purposes, which is just kind of a fancy way of saying taking care of our animals. One of the really important husbandry behaviors that we will teach is opening the mouth of the animals. And if you look into the mouth of some of our stellar sea lions, you can see that their teeth are kind of black. That black on their teeth isn't because we do a bad job at taking care of them, as they do get their teeth brushed once a week. That's actually plaque over the ends of their teeth that is there naturally to prevent tooth decay. Stellar sea lions have a really interesting breeding cycle. If females, when they hit the age of sexual maturity, will actually remain pregnant the whole entire year other than 2 to 3 weeks. So essentially what happens is they undergo a process called delayed implantation. What's happening is the female will get pregnant during breeding season. The egg will be fertilized, but it won't actually implant into her uterus yet. Once fall comes around, about 3 months later, if there's enough food and she has enough fat reserves stored up in her body will essentially say, okay, it's time, we can implant this embryo, it's time to have a baby. So if there's enough fat reserves, she will implant that embryo, and then over the course of the next 8 months, she will grow that in her uterus until it is around breeding season, same time next year. She'll give birth to that pup, and then within 1 to 2 weeks, she will have mated with a male and already be pregnant again. So they are constantly mothers. They're always going through different fluctuations in their bodies, which is why it's so important to try and figure out what's going on with them energetically. Some of the fish that they're being fed right now are actually herring, pollock, and capelin. While it might not sound yummy to you, they think it's fantastic. The herring are the meat and potatoes of their diet. That's where they're getting all their nutrients. And then funnily enough, they aren't drinking the seawater that they're swimming around in. It's too salty. It's not going to hydrate them. So they're getting all their hydration from the food that they are eating. And they are eating a lot of food. Actually, during their biggest time when they're eating the most, males can eat up to 70 pounds of fish. Pilot is actually at a time where he's eating less food, so he's not having nearly as much as that, but he is still getting all the hydration that he needs from that fish that he's eating. Thank you guys so much for coming out here today and getting a good look at our stellar sea lions. We're one of 3 facilities that actually houses these guys in captivity in North America, so you guys got a really unique look.
And meanwhile, we've got some puffins in here. And I think those are lilies, or what are those? That was a bit of good luck. Showed up just in time for the sea lion feeding, and not sure about the footage and how it turned out, but it was not half bad as far as being able to see it and film it. We have a tank here specifically for baby and juvenile salmon. They're not alone. They've got a couple of starfish here and something that's a little bit more than that, but I couldn't tell you what it is. This is a different section of the Resurrection Bay as seen from the SeaLife Center. And out on this overlook they talk about the Good Friday earthquake of 1964, which just devastated industry, but Seward's been rebuilt and now it's a little bit more of an ecological haven. Seals here? Or actually that might be the reflection. A few more interactive exhibits here. We're not supposed to bang on the glass, but you can press a few buttons here and there. Definitely more kid-friendly as Daniel gets his thermal reading. Meanwhile, this is what I look like, huh?
Today we have 2 divers in the water, bird habitat. We have
All right. Well, that was more fun than the last museum we were at. And rather than clamoring to go home and hopefully grabbing a shuttle back, we can actually walk our way back. It's only about 1.5 miles or so, and that's what we're going to do.